This is why are men becoming increasingly uninterested in relationships and marriage? $38,000. That's why. Let me drop this one down here real quick. All right, here we go. I just want to throw this out there really quickly. Ed and stuff, and I know Ed. He says average women don't want average men. That's easy enough answer. Incel.is, because modern women only chase the top 5% of good-looking men while ignoring the rest. Right? Well, that's how they get there. But how do you keep them? $38,000. Marriage is a concept that suppresses the instinctual nature of man for the good of the family and thus society. Now, sex and its proxies are abundant. Society hates men, so lifelong commitment to an obstinate pre-fucked headache, that's good, is a laughable offer compared to enjoying the low-hanging fruits grown from a society without shame or morals. We always come back to the morals, don't we? Must be 6 feet tall, must make $100,000 a year, must look like Chad, must have a college degree, must have six-pack abs, must work high-status job, must do the housework, must have a 9-inch, really only 9? The other chick was talking about 5 inches, like small. Meanwhile, women are obese at obese 30-year-old roasties. I haven't heard roasties in a long time. You've been spending too much time on fucking 4chan, my friend. My 5'8" granddad was a bricklayer. All I gotta do is lay a brick. And got to marry an early 20s virgin. Yeah, how old was he? Who stayed faithful to him and bore him 6 children, as far as you know. Modern men have to work 5 times harder. Okay, this is the standard bullshit. Modern men have to work 5 times harder than their grandfathers did. For women, 20 times worse than what their grandfather or grandmothers were. It's called hoflation. Thank you for that very much. I want to also this was the let me stop sharing this. There you go. Here's another. People don't. This is an oldie but goodie, and the thing that gets me is like when people start talking about like how women have these unrealistic high standards. He's got to be like this. Like when you have the microphone that's in your face and the camera is right there, women are going to say shit that they think sounds right, or they're going to because they don't want anybody to have a worse than necessary opinion of them. Okay, when you ask women, what are you looking for in a guy? They're going to say he's got to be funny. He's got to like puppy dogs. My mom has to like him. My sister has to like him. He has to want kids in the future. He has to have a good chunk of change. He's got to have money. He's got to have ambition. He's got to have this. He's got to have that. He's got to like Disneyland. He's got to like rainbows. He's got to blah, blah. It's this laundry list. Royce used to call it the 436 bullet point checklist. And in a specific order of this is what's most important, right? But he also wrote this other great article, and it's called Women's Standards Crumble Easily Given the Right Incentives. Okay? So I'm gonna bring this one up here for you real quick, because I think that a lot of guys believe women when they relate what their standards are. Now, does that mean that women aren't actually holding out for like guys who are like Superman? Yeah, they probably. As I said before, it's the global sexual marketplace that we are never evolved to adapt to. But that said, I want to show you guys this one. This is a really good one from old school from Chateau Artiste. Okay. Women's standards easily crumble given the right incentives. Maxim number 39. We were really big on maxims back then. A woman's standards are like a house of cards. Kick out one from the bottom and the whole edifice crashes down. I was mingling with some friends, a mixed group, when one of the girls, a 7.5, 0.75 waist to hip ratio, Leith A cups, mid-20s, because this is vital to any discussion, piped up about her standards in men. And remember, this is written in 2010, guys. Look at the date, 2010. So don't think that this is some fucking new novel thing that women of today have just sort of like popped. Oh, average women don't want average women. They didn't want them back in 2010 either. So just saying, it's not you. It's not the times. It's just the fucking way that it's always been. Okay. She went on for some. Oh, A cups. Okay. She piped up about her standards in men. She went on for some length describing the kind of man she wanted to, or she would deign. She would lower herself to date. She is single. Now, based on looks, age, lack of sprog baggage, sprog meaning kids, she has the sexual market value to make some weighty demands. And she knew that on a logical level, her 463-point bullet point checklist she recited was quite impressive in its detail. So here's what she was looking for. Worldly and well-traveled, must have been someplace besides Europe. Athletic, football or lacrosse player, at a Division I school preferred. Spontaneous, generous, must have done volunteer work at some point in life. Cute, but with a rugged edge, a cross between Orlando Bloom and Christian Bale. Good conversationalist, can speak intelligently on any number of subjects, but especially film history. Stylish, not a J. Crew guy, but J. Crew still a thing, but more like a Banana Republic / Marc Jacobs guy. Muscular, but not too beefy. Deltoids must be developed to bulging perspective. You have to have boulder shoulders. Tall, but not more than 8 inches taller than her. A connoisseur of fine wine. Shuns video games. Sound familiar? This was not the full list. It was a list I could remember for this post. 2 weeks later, we all met again, and this time she was with a man, someone she had just started seeing. He was a full-time bartender, a local who had never left the country. Yes, he admitted this with some pride. Dressed in jeans and a button-down. A couple of inches taller than her, average male height. A state school grad. Tattooed. A very chill, amiable guy. You could see yourself having a beer with him. Not particularly built, but not fat either. Better than average looking, but no Christian Bale. Socially savvy, but not intellectual. Confident. A big video gamer. We discussed the finer points of the Kinect. The Kinect. Yes, this was 2010. I hope you can all see what I'm doing. I'm going with this. Where I'm going with this. What she claimed were her inviolable standards, and what kind of a man she actually dated were very different. She seemed oblivious to the disconnect. Bless her cute little cutie pie hamster. This isn't the only example of a woman's standards not being worth the mental paper that they're written on. I'm sure we're all acquainted with the online spectacle of average-looking and even ugly fat chicks pumping their date site profiles and Craigslist personas full of demands that would make a princess blush. But how quickly those standards evaporate when the harsh Klieg lights of reality intrude. A woman's standards, however emphatically and insistently declared, are more like a fantasy dating team. Free of the constraints of market barter, she happily indulges in a little of the ultra delusion. That is, if you ask a woman her standards, you will never, and I mean never, get an honest answer and realistic answer from her. This is because women are, on the whole, incapable of accurate self-assessment. A woman's prime directive in life is to sell herself the moon. Remember what he said? I'm a 10, right? Every chick on fucking on whatever podcast, sell herself the moon, right? A man's directive is to sidestep paying her inflated price for that moon. Given the right incentives, every woman's standards will wilt into accommodation. And by incentives, I mean everything from the sex ratio to her actual sex worth to the subversive level of game that a man needs to play. A single smart 60-year-old woman, financially well off and occupationally accomplished, can demand in the most florid of haughty language and a sophisticated wealthy man all she wants. But there's a number where the rubber meets the road. She will jettison all of her ridiculously unrealistic standards for an average old schlub who tickles her pink because he managed not to fall asleep during an hour-long dinner date with her. I think you guys get the idea. Right? So just remember that dating standards, just because a woman says, I need this and this, these are the deal breakers. I need this and this and this and this and this and this. And in real life, where the rubber meets the road, where the pink gets tickled. God, you're such a great writer. Remember that's a wish list. That's your Temu wish list. If you didn't have to pay for something, this is what you would put on the fucking on your wish list. But the thing is, you got to pay for it. There has to be some sort of trade. There has to be some sort of exchange value that goes along with that. So, as I said, and the reason I brought this up, I don't think anybody's ever brought this particular article up on any podcast that I know. But the thing is like, I think too many guys get sort of hung up on this idea that, it's the 666, right? He's got to be 6 feet tall, 6-pack abs, got to have a V taper. He's got to have at least a 6-inch, right? Because we clearly 5 is not working for our girls on whatever podcast. He's got to make a 6-figure income, and on and on and on. And so you've got this whole thing, and guys take that to heart and they go, well, women want these unrealistic things. Yeah, they want those things. They'll settle for quite a bit less. It just depends, man. And here's what gets me is this. The thing that gets guys, it catches guys by surprise is they go, Rolo, there's this beautiful fucking swimsuit model that I see, and she's with this fat guy, or she's with this emo guy, or she's with this rocker guy who's just like, he's emaciatedly thin. He's not masculine. How could she be with this guy? I'm way more jacked than he is, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't shoot your shot with her.
Yeah.
You didn't try to make that approach. He did. Or maybe he didn't need to, right? Maybe she was just into him at that time. Maybe she was willing to say, you know what? These things that are on my 463 bullet point checklist, the ones that I think are so important, maybe I can compromise on those because of the state that I'm in, because of the context that I'm in, because now I'm 30 years old and I have to change. I've got to change. They still want those things on the list. The priority of those things are different now. So when people go, well, hypergamy, I've said this a million times, hypergamy is not a straitjacket. So the woman who is a flaming 8 and 9, right? When she's 26 years old, she hits 30, she hits 33. Now she's at least mentally, she's down to a 7. And maybe it doesn't even matter if she's actually physically a 7. She could still be the hottest piece of ass you've ever seen in your life. But up here, she thinks she's a 7. All the girls that were sitting around this table, and we've done this several times on Access Vegas, they sit around this table and we say, what do you rate yourself? The girl who's looking like highly, who's looking at Anissa, she's, I'm a 7, and she's just trying to objectively be serious about it instead of I'm a 10 no matter what. Fuck all you guys. Feminism that. You never hear that from these. You never hear that from hot chicks.
Yeah,
you'll never hear that from bottle girls. You never hear that.
They're more humble because they get judged more.
But yeah, they get judged more, and they're surrounded by hot chicks all the time. And so, you take one of these girls and you put them on whatever podcast, and they're the hottest piece of ass that's on there, but they're down to earth because they know what their competition is. They know who they're dealing with, and so you have a much more. And so what happens is you'll see this beautiful girl, and she's with a guy who's you would go, I'm better than that, dude. How the fuck did she get with this guy? He's fat. He's not all that, but that's what she'll settle for, right? That's what she might say. Even our hot girls will say, hey, I want a guy who's $5 million. Mm-hmm. What's attractive to you? $5 million. Those are the girls who are post 30. Yes. CJ Sparks looking at you. Nothing's unattractive if you've got $5 million, right? But again, as I said, it's the prioritization of what that laundry list is going to be. But guys think that is set in fucking stone, like it came down from the tablets from Mount Sinai in the Talmud, in the Torah.